Well, I promised you all here yesterday that I'd make a video about the kiln. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jesse Busenitz, owner of Busenitz Custom Woodworks, and we do custom cabinetry and furniture, as well as operate a sawmill and now a kiln. So we're excited to start offering that service as well. It's been a little bit of a hectic day. We've had a lot of customers coming out and buying product, but things are winding down. We're enjoying the cool temperatures. It's a little bit cooler than it was here yesterday. I think fall's right around the corner, so I'm excited about that. Anyways, this is our kiln. We built this here earlier this year. Started it in January and just got it finished up in around the 1st of June, I believe it was, and we've run approximately, I believe it's been about 4 or 5 loads through since then. We air dry everything we run through here, so it's ideally down to 25% moisture content or lower, and the whole turnaround time is around 2 weeks, just depending on thickness and species. We had some that was 4/4, we had some 4/4 walnut, and it was really close to being dry, you know, closer around to that 13-14%, and we basically threw it in here for a week and finished it up, and as well as running it through a sterilization cycle, which kills all the bugs, which we'll get into later. That being said, the overall building is 20 feet wide, and these doors are 10 feet tall, and then it's 9 feet deep. So we're able to stack quite a bit of wood in here. Ideally, if you had a perfect load, you could put 4,000 board feet in here. I'm not exactly sure what this load is, but it's got to be getting pretty close because it's pretty full. You can see up here top, we have what's called a fan wall. There's four fans at the very top, and then a tarp, a burlap tarp, going from the fan wall to the top of the stack. That needs to be sealed off, and then that basically creates a path for the wind or the air to move through. The fans are blowing here, and so that causes this side to be pressurized and forcing air movement through the slabs. We put these 1x2, they're called a sticker, but they're basically a simple spacer in between the slabs, and it helps just keep stuff flat and more uniform. The 4x4s are just because these are different piles of slabs coming from different trees, but ideally you use just these 1x2s to get your spacing. So right now we obviously don't have, we just have two different piles lengthwise. We had to do a little bit of trimming to get everything fit in here. And we have these access doors here. There's one on each side, just so we can come in here with the moisture meter. We got this Wagner, it is a 930 pinless meter, and we've had that for about 2 months and been getting used to that. It's really nice that you don't have to mark up your wood. It's not quite as accurate as a pin meter, but it's a lot faster, and it can get into tight spots like this. You know, you can't stick your pin meter in here very well, but this allows you to get readings a little bit harder places to reach. So, and this is nice because you can calibrate for different species. Right now we are reading at 6.1% moisture content, which is plenty dry for lumber. Some of it was had a little bit more moisture in it. So it's ideally if you can get consistent in your overall product that you are putting in. Some of this was up around 25, 27, I think maybe we had a few, and then we had some that was lower down, around 15, 16, I think. So it's ideal if you can and get close in your moisture content. When you cut a fresh log, I believe it's around 50 to 60% moisture content, and we're shooting for around 8 to 10% moisture content, to be able to build stuff out of it. As you can see here, get in here a little bit better. This is what they call the compressor, and it's basically a big dehumidifier. They've done a few things to help it withstand the harsh environment. A kiln is a very harsh environment just due to the heat and the moisture that's coming out, especially like with oak. Some of the moisture, it can be very caustic and cause stuff to rust out very rapidly. So they've done a few things just to help it withstand the elements a little bit better. You can see here, once again, we got the fan wall up top, and then the tarp, the burlap tarp coming down, and this will be the vacuum side. Those fans are blowing, so this is going to be under suction. It's pulling, the air's coming through here, coming this direction toward the dehumidifier. We have the wet and dry bulb thermometers right here, and those are what the monitor uses to determine whether the dehumidifier is running or not, and then as well as the auxiliary heater. This is the control box, so this is all going to be backwards, but we have the compressor, auxiliary heater, and vent, and then the humidification, which we don't use. The vent is basically to keep the chamber from overheating, and the compressor obviously runs your dehumidifier. The only time that comes off is during the sterilization cycle, which is generally done after you finish drying everything. But sometimes, especially like with walnut, it can stall out around 13 to 15%. Sometimes it'll just quit giving up water, and so you have to crank the temperature up, and that'll kind of bust the humidity loose, and it'll start flowing again. So the compressor gets shut off during that cycle, and then the heat auxiliary heater usually only runs during the initial, after the initial loading period, and then during the sterilization cycle, as the dehumidifier produces enough heat to keep the temperature, to hold the temperature where it needs to be. It starts out around 110 degrees, and then we'll slowly ramp it up until we reach up to 120 degrees once we get close to our final moisture content, what we're shooting for. But then we only go up to that 140 degrees for about 24 hours per inch of thickness, and that will kill all the bugs that might be in the wood, because the last thing you want is bugs crawling out of your project after you invested a lot of hours and sweat into it. This is the drain back here that comes out of the dehumidifier, and basically it's a visual aid to help us figure out how much moisture we're pulling out. Just because the dehumidifier is running doesn't necessarily mean we're pulling out moisture, and that's kind of a thing to watch, especially like with walnut. When it stalls out, the compressor may be running, but it may not be pulling out water per se. And during, when we first put this walnut in, we were pulling out about a 5-gallon bucket per day. So it can pull out a lot of water. I'm sure it would be more if you did green lumber. We haven't done anything fresh off the sawmill, but this, you could do that. It's just not quite as efficient. So overall, we've got just 50 amps coming in from overhead line. It's pretty simple. And then this is the controller that Nyle supplies. They basically send this controller and then the fans and the wet dry bulb and all these cables all come with as kind of a kit, and then we built the building and put the rest of it all together. It has the silver paint on there, which is actually a roofing paint. It's supposed to hold up to moisture very good, really good. And the insulation we used was 2-inch foam board. These walls and doors are about 6.5 to 7 inches thick, I believe. So right now, during the summer, obviously the vent has been running a lot just because the chamber's been too warm. I'm excited to see how it does this winter and see how well we insulate it. If you guys have any questions, leave us a comment below and we will do our best to answer it. And thanks for watching.